Alberto Ornaghi and Marco Valleri from Italy, and first of all, we want to thank Black Hat Inc. for having invited us here. For us, it's the first time in the USA, and it's amazing for us to be here. Yeah. Second, I know our pronunciation is horrible, and we hope you will understand our Italian-style English. And third, we have 9 hours of jet lag, so forgive us if we say odd things. It's normal, okay? Today's presentation is about man-in-the-middle attacks, and we will show you some live demos. The theoretical attacks has been shown in Amsterdam this spring. So if you want to see the slide, you know where to find them on the Black Hat site. Okay. We have set up a little LAN, hopefully, with a switch, a Cisco Catalyst 1900, and 3 laptops, okay? One is the server and the gateway, if the wireless adapter will start, a client and an attacker, okay? So, this is our scenario. We have split the man-in-the-middle attack in 2 phases. The first one is the attack that will take will bring the attacker in the middle, and the second phase is all the attacks the attacker can do once in the middle. Let's start from the end. We will see now what the attacker can do once in the middle, and then how to gain the middle. We will detail in a few slides this kind of attack: injection, key manipulations, downrange attack, and filtering of the packets in the communication. Let's start from injection. Injection is the possibility to add packets into an already established connection, but this is only possible if the attacker can control both sides of the communication, because the sequence number has to be adjusted in both sides. Okay? So the attacker can modify sequence number and checksums, all has to be done. To inject the packet into the connection. If the attack is a proxy attack, so there are 2 distinct connections, one from the client to the attacker and one from the attacker to the server, it's even easier because we don't have to mess with the sequence number. Yes?
In a second, where it says that the attacker can modify sequence numbers, if you're collecting packets, rewriting them. Doing header rewriting.
Yeah. Yes. We modify the sequence and we forward the packet to the real destination. Okay. An example for injection is when we have a connection such as telnet, suppose, but the authentication schemas is one time, such as RSA token, like this one, okay? So the password is valid only once. If the attacker can sniff the password, he cannot reuse this password for authentication. But if the connection is already authenticated, hijacking this connection is critical for security, obviously. The attacker can inject a command to the server or fake replies to the client. Let's see an example.
To show you all the demo because today we will use this program. This is called EtherCap. We will use this program because we are very confident with it, but you can use the program you want to perform man-in-the-middle attacks. First of all, I can select, we will use our poisoning to show first attacks today. Simply select the source and the destination of the connection I want to sniff.
Okay, the client is 192.178.0.1 and the server is .0.7, okay? I'll start a connection, okay. VH user.
As you can see, we have catched the username and password from the authentication phase, but we have supposed that they are unuseful because the authentication scheme is, for example, one-time password. Now, we can, for example, injecting commands into this authenticated session. For example,
magari al contrario.
Italy,
Hey, he is Windows addicted.
this is the reply from the server. This is the password D. We can, now we have injected a command to the server, but we can also inject fake replies to the client. For example,
Switch.
if fell asleep. Ce la fai? Porca miseria. This was the nicest demo today. No. By the way, I was trying to inject Heine or follow the white rabbit because probably Trinity used the EtherCap to inject them. No way. Let's see another thing. Vabbè, già parlano questo.
Devi attaccare questo. Last try.
No? No. Chiappa questo.
Ok.
Abbiamo tempo. We bring all this stuff from Italy. This was a very great mess in the airport because the catalyst is very similar to a bomb under X-ray.
Let's continue. Okay. The next type of attack is key manipulation, and we will see SSH version 1, IPsec, and HTTPS. We will show demos only for SSH version 1 and HTTPS because IPsec plugin is still in development. By the way, SSH version 1 works this way. The client starts the connection to the server, and the server replies with its public key. Okay? The man in the middle intercepts this key and substitute with its own public key and send it to the client. The client generates the session key random number, okay, and encrypt this number with the fake public key provided by the man in the middle. The man in the middle obviously can decrypt the packet and re-encrypt the session key with the real public key of the server and forward the packet to the server. At this point, both the server and the client, but also the man in the middle, has the session key. So every packet exchanged by the from the server to the client and vice versa can be decrypted by the man in the middle. And also if the man in the middle goes away, the connection is still up, because it's not a proxy attack, okay? The man in the middle has the session key and decrypts the connection. There aren't two distinct connections such as in Bismuth, okay? Demo? But, yeah.
Doesn't that assume that the client and server have never talked before, haven't already exchanged the same keys with each other?
We will see this situation afterwards.
With the microphone.
We will see this situation in the next demo.
Okay.
Là non c'è verso di farlo vedere il client.
Mi sembra no.
Ma quello è quello che ho messo.
As we have seen before, once again, select source and destination. The client will start the SSH connection, and this is the first time for the client that this server is contacted. So we are sorry, but we can't show you this monitor. There is a warning. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? RSA key fingerprint is blah blah blah. Do you want to add it? Yes or no? Because this was the first time.
Okay.
Since it was the first time, the client has no key to compare to the attacker public key. So it has to trust it and store it in the non-host file. We can also see the commands in the connection. Let's see another thing.
Okay.
Well, IPsec key manipulation is possible only if selected authentication scheme is pre-shared secret. In some VPN environments, for example, such environments where there are a star architecture, it is possible that some lazy administrator set up only one pre-shared secret for all the clients. So if two or more clients share the same secret, each of them can pretend to be the server with another client. Let's see how it works. IPsec uses ISACAMP, in Italian ISACAMP, I hope this is the same here. ISACAMP is used, so the man in the middle starts a phase one ISACAMP exchange with the client, pretending to be the server. The man in the middle can authenticate all the packets needed to perform the Fierman exchange using the pre-shared secret. So now the man in the middle has set up a phase one security association with the client. Now the man in the middle can set up another security association pretending to be the client with the server, and can authenticate all the packets needed to perform the Fierman using the same pre-shared secret. At this point, the man in the middle has set up two separate security associations, one with the client and one with the server, so it has all it needs to decrypt all the packets coming from the client and encrypt those packets going to the server. We can show you any demo for this because Ethercard plugin to perform this kind of attack is currently in developing state, and we haven't so much time to present it now. Let's see another kind of attack. Today we will see two different kind of attacks against HTTPS. If wireless LAN now is on, yes,
Use.
non ci speravo più.
At least once Insta works.
Okay. Video switch is, oh my god. Let's see, first kind of attack. This is the more simple attack against HTTPS, fake certificate. How does it work? The man in the middle simply provides the client with a fake certificate, for example, signed by VeriSign, relying on some browser misconfiguration or on user dumbness. The attacker, using, for example, DNS spoofing or R poisoning or DNS poisoning, the method he prefers, can accept the connection from the client to the server, accept this connection providing the fake certificate, then, acting as a proxy, can contact the server and, just like a proxy, close the circuit between the client and the server. To show HTTPS demo, we will try to steal username and password from a login phase to a well-known website or hotmail.com. First of all, non va quello, no?
No.
E fallo vedere da qui. First of all, we will try to connect to Hotmail legally without any interference by the man in the middle. It's not so speedy. Questo qua.
This one? Oh, is GK Realm. I don't know the pronunciation. This one, okay?
Non tergiversare, via fuori Hotmail.
Okay, Hotmail.
All right. Hotmail has a main page sent in HTTP. This page contains a form that uses HTTPS to send login and password provided by the client. We'll set up a user for this demonstration. bhuser_1.
It was already token. Okay.
User BH. User BH, but I wasn't able to convince him to use his own mail address for the demonstration.
Okay, we are logged.
You can spam whatever you want on this address, we will never read it. Now we will try to perform the simple attack against HTTPS. We will still use ettercap. Era sempre l'1, no?
Okay, no, no. And on the client, I have VMware with Windows. Okay, so I can use Explorer for this demo. Right. Okay. Okay. Now Internet Explorer has shown me the famous pop-up. The certificate was issued by a company that you have not chosen to trust, and so on. I am a dumb user, so I would view the certificate, used by very sign, okay, it's good for me, so
I have to accept it.
I accept it, and my password is on the way.
Username, password, and the URL where it was posted.
Okay.
This is not a so smart attack because we need the dumb user to perform it. He is the dumb user. But many users click OK on the alert pop-up because sometimes this pop-up comes up where the name of the server doesn't match exactly the URL, or the certificate is expired, or is self-signed by a proprietary certification authority of the server. But afterwards we will see a more smart attack against this kind of protocol.
Okay. My laptop is dying. Okay, let's detail filtering. So, while the connection is necked, the attacker can modify the payload, and obviously it has to recalculate the checksum and modify with the correct one, okay? He or she can create filters on the fly, so while the packets goes through the connection, the filter automatically modify the payload, recalculate the checksum, and if we need to increase the length of the payload, we have to adjust even the sequence number. And as seen before, we have to be in full duplex environment, okay? So let's see an example for filtering. The attacker can inject malicious code into web pages or into email, such as JavaScript, Trojans, virus.
For example, to use last exploits, object tag, blah, 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 or cut and paste of HTML tags.
And tu parla intanto.
Okay. While he is rebooting this wonderful laptop, I try to spend some words about this stuff.
It was not easy for me to steal this laptop from the office.
As Alor said before, we can inject malicious code, for example, into web pages, just like JavaScript, Trojans, and so on, or we can modify binary on the fly. This is very useful because, for example, we can modify .exe files downloaded from a trusted source. For example, a person who downloads Internet Explorer update will launch this executable file without any warranty. So binary modification is quite crucial for security. Is finished?
Okay. For the example, I will make a little executable. Test.c. Okay. This little program is very dumb, obviously, and it always prints this is a test because the if statement always return true. Okay. Returns. Okay. We will compile this program, and we will download from the server to the client. Okay. He will set up a filter to modify the if statement to return always false. So modified program will be printed. Let's compile the test. And we have to find the right point to be modified. Okay, so we disassemble the program, and if we see in the main, this is the jump not equal for the if statement. Okay, so we have to modify this 75 opcode into 74 opcode. So the test will always returns false. Okay, but we have to be sure to modify only this point. Okay, so we will search for a string of opcode to be sure to modify only this 75. So the filter. Ok. Fai avanti, metti il filtro prima.
Al posto.
Just a moment. Parla intanto, di qualcosa. Ok, we are up and running.
Now on my machine using EtherCap, I will set up a filter to modify this binary string. It's quite simple. Filter on best. It's already. We will search for packets matching protocol TCP and matching the search string in hexadecimal format. The action that will be taken is replace, and the string will be replaced with the one below. Give it a try.
Now I will download the test file from the server to the client. Get test. Okay, transferred. And unfortunately I can't show you.
Quale si vede? Aspetta.
We will give it another chance to work.
Oh yes! Okay.
With the good manners, you can obtain everything.
Okay, so I have downloaded the test file, and the 75 opcode has been modified to 74, so executing the test will show modified program. Obviously this is very simple, but if you know exactly what the client is downloading from a server, you can inject elf section with a lot of code with all you want. So let's return to the presentation.
Now we will see another attack against HTTPS. This attack doesn't rely on fake certificate, but relies on filtering. As we've seen before, many web servers, just like Hotmail, uses to decrease load average a main page sent in clear text using HTTP protocol. This page contains usually a form that uses HTTPS to send to the server authentication data. So the man in the middle can modify the action of the form by substituting the string HTTPS with the string HTTP, and can modify also the destination of the form. So when the user types username and password, the client will send in clear text those data to the man in the middle, to the attacker. The attacker can store those data and replies to the client's request with a page. This page contains an invisible form with all hidden fields. Each hidden field is filled with the right authentication data provided by the client. So the form is the same as before, but this time the action points to the real server. The page also contains a script command to perform auto-submission of the form, so there is no need for further interaction by the user. The form will auto-submit to the server, and if username and password are correct, the server will start the authenticated connection. Let's see how it works. First of all, we have to filter the action of the form. So we have prepared this filter. Hotmail form points for Hotmail login to this server, https loginnet_passport.com. We can modify this string with http login_passport.com. Now we have to reply for to the DNS request asking for loginnet. So we have prepared this file that replies loginnet_passport.com with my own IP address. .69.
Sono l'uno adesso. L'uno.
Esiste solo l'uno, infatti. This is the filter. Loginnet, blah 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 blah. Now we have to activate the plugin to perform DNS spoofing using the previous file, and to send the client the right response page, we will use a sample per script. This per script is very simple. It accepts connection on port 18, waits for client post, then reads the data from the post, print it, and then send to the client this. This is the reply, this is a form. This time the form points to the real server, loginnet_passport.com. The form contains each field sent by the client, but this time it is hidden. The form also, the page also contains this JavaScript command that performs auto-submission of the form. So we can start. Well, let's give it a try.
Okay, I will connect to Hotmail, hopefully. Okay, those are my connection, and I hope that this works. Oh, okay. So, if I look at the source, the page source, yeah. Okay.
Search for
Eccolo qua. Okay, we have our login.passport.com. Okay, but I usually don't see the page source before login. So our BH user _1 user BH. I press sign in and why? Let's try again. Which documents contains no data. Auto-submitting form, but for some reason,
forse hai disattivato JavaScript.
My Mozilla is, I have disabled, yeah, I have to set up VMware again. This is the reason for the hard lock before. Okay. Yeah. Ciccia.
By the way, they captured login and password.
Okay.
If he had a good web browser,
No luck today for the demonstration. It's terrible.
but it works. Almost once it worked.
If you use the Internet Explorer, it works. Okay.
By the way, I hope you understood the way it works, because it's quite easy to use this kind of attack against many websites to steal user credentials.
Okay.
This time, no pop-up has shown because the certificate is the real server certificate, because the connection that has been accepted by the man in the middle is an HTTP connection, so no certificate has been provided to the client.
Okay. Questo sta a me?
Let's see another category of attack. This is downgrade attacks. Downgrade attacks means that the man in the middle can interfere or modify packets sent during negotiation phase to convince both endpoints of communication that the other endpoint can support only an older version or a less secure version of the requested protocol. We will see this kind of attack against SSH version 2, against IPsec, and against the old PPTP protocol. First packet sent during an SSH connection is a clear text string announcing protocol version supported by the server. For example, if the string is like SSH 1.99, it means that the server supports both SSH version 1 and SSH version 2. If the server string is SSH 1.51, it means that the server supports only version 1 of the protocol. The attackers can make a filter to substitute the string 1.99 with the string 1.51, so the client will think that the server only supports version 1 of the protocol, so if there are no other restrictions, the client will start an SSH version 1 protocol connection with the server, and we can perform a previously seen attack. This kind of attack is also useful against non-host restriction. NOS file is used to store public key of the server that the client has contacted at least once. Once the server is contacted, the client stores its public key, and when the client contacts the server again, we will try to match public key provided by the server with the one he has stored. If the two keys differ, an alert will pop up warning the key has changed, probably someone is dropping you. But most people in the world simply contact the server by typing SSH IP address or name of the server. In this situation, if both client and server supports both version 1 and version 2 of the protocol, the client will use the better protocol version, so the client will always contact the server using SSH version 2. So the client will store only the public key of the server for the version 2 of the protocol. If we successfully exploit this kind of attack, the client will start a connection using SSH version 1 for the first time with that server. So the client doesn't have any key stored for that server in non-host file. So no banner will pop up, and only the string, do you want to add this key to your non-host file?
Okay, let's see a demo. Yes. Okay. No, the first time I will connect with the SSH to the server, and I don't have the key. Yes. Okay, we should choose it. Okay. Switch. No, devo far vedere il SSH version, quello è il nostro. We see we have used SSH version 2. Okay.
The client stored the key for the server for version 2 of the protocol. Now we can set up this filter. The substitute on port 22 of protocol TCP the string 1.99 with the string 1.51.
I will start the connection again. Okay. And
no banner.
It has again to add the key, because this time is SSH version 1. Okay, because he has substituted the parameter. So this banner is not someone is dropping you it only tells me to add the key. So I will trust this user. Okay, I'm connected, but he has stolen.
We catched username and password because we have downgraded SSH version 2 to version 1, and we avoided no-nos restriction. File vedere il no-nos file. There are two separate keys, one for version 2 of the protocol and one for version 1 of the protocol.
Okay.
This is another attack against IPsec. IPsec, as we have seen before, uses port 500 UDP to exchange key material using ISACAMP. We can block every packets coming and going to this port, so each endpoint will think that the other endpoint cannot speak IPsec. So in this situation, many clients uses rollback mode, so in case of failure we start a clear text connection to the server. This attack obviously fails if IPsec is used in tunnel mode, because you can tunnelize nothing into a non-existent connection. Let's see another protocol that is very vulnerable to downgrade attacks. This is PPTP. PPTP is an old tunneling protocol that uses GRE for packet encapsulation. Negotiation phase is not authenticated and is not ciphered, so we can modify each packet exchanged during negotiation phase of a PPTP tunnel. For example, we can force PAP authentication of from a tunnel. We can force MSCHAP version 1 authentication instead of MSCHAP version 2 authentication request. We can force no encryption. We can force any parameter we want to the value we desire. We can also force renegotiation of an existing tunnel by sending a clear text terminate packet to the client or to the server. This is useful to retrieve password from existing tunnels or to perform previous attacks that are possible only during negotiation phase. We can also use password chain feature when a password expires by spoofing a password chain packet to obtain password hashes provided by the user. Those hashes don't need to be cracked because are not a challenge response, are the real password hashes, and can be used directly by a modified SMB or PPTP client. This attack is possible only if MSCHAP version 1 protocol is used. It is unuseful against MSCHAP version 2, but we can force version 1 of the protocol during negotiation phase, as we have seen before. Let's see how it works. Now we will show an example. We will force PAP authentication from CHAP authentication request, but you can figure out how it works with any other parameter exchanged, negotiated during connection establishment. The client starts connection request. The server makes a request packet requesting CHAP authentication scheme. The middle can modify this packet, requesting the client for a fake and unknown authentication scheme. The client that doesn't know fake authentication scheme will reply with a not acknowledgement and will suggest the server to use CHAP. The attacker can modify also this packet, suggesting the server to use PAP. If the server supports PAP authentication scheme, we'll send to the client a PAP authentication scheme request and the client will acknowledge. So we have injected no packet in the communication, And we don't have to mess with GRE sequences number because GRE is the encapsulation method used by PPTP. L2TP is the newer version of the Microsoft encapsulation protocol and uses IPsec ESP as transport layer. So this is much stronger than PPTP. By default, Windows clients will use automatic configuration. So we'll try when you set up a VPN connection from the control panel. We'll try first L2TP. Then, if L2TP fails, we'll try PPTP. We can block any ISACAM packets going to the server, and it will result in an IPsec failure, as we have seen before. So the client, after the failure, it is configured in automatic mode. We will try rollback and we'll start PPTP request to the server. Now we can perform PPTP previously seen attacks, or if the server doesn't support PPTP, we can impersonate the server. We can pretend to be a network and whatever we want.
I've restored my VMware. So
Magari dopo, afterwards we will show you previously failed demo against HTTPS. First of all,
now I will connect using the PPTP from Windows to the server.
sei due, giusto?
Yes.
Vai.
PH user as always. C'è? Switch.
No, esce di fare. Perché stava stanco di tradurre. We have used Ethercat with this plugin, Hydra Suite. Now we have only catched challenge response from tunnel establishment. This is an MS Chat version 2 challenge response because the LAN manager hash is not present. We can use, for example, a program just like Loftcrack to crack this hash and then break into the tunnel. But let's see another. We can use, for example, this plugin to force PAP authentication, and we can force tunnel renegotiation. Voila! The tunnel has renegotiated credentials. We have forced PAP authentication, and the client has provided us with the clear text username and password for the tunnel.
So we don't have to force the LAN manager hashes.
Now we will try to decapsulate connection, and we will try to force clear text tunnel to see connection going into the tunnel between the client and the server. Only one moment. will set up a first ettercap instance to get the password and force clear text connection. This instance also performs ARP poisoning. We will also set up another ettercap instance that try to decapsulate the connections. Ma l'avrei fatto dopo che l'avevo... Sicuro? Ma non vedo la pelle.
La devo ancora fare.
So, now
I will make a connection obviously.
Non è zero, eccetera.
I'm connected.
dot 100 dot etc. are the virtual IP address given to tunnel endpoints.
Okay, so the server is 192.168.101. BH user. Okay, I'm in the tunnel and
We have decapsulated the connection from .100.2 to .100.1 on port 23. This is telnet. We cached username and password. Those passwords aren't the password from the tunnel, but are the password for the telnet session that is going into the tunnel, because we force no compression and no encryption in the tunnel. This was possible only because there is a little misconfiguration. Networking, advanced security. Okay, for example, this is the PPTP is the first protocol tried. This is the default, this is automatic. So it first try L2TP, then PPTP. But as we have seen before, we can force PPTP to be used. Here, we have allowed, for example,
optional encryption
and so on. So you have to not to disable all the options. You don't need to set up the tunnel. Maximum strength, for example, and so on. Only needed options. You have to disable all the other options, not only for this kind of client, but this is a general rule.
Okay.
We have only 10 minutes, so we have to speed up.
Okay. So we have seen the attack. Once the attacker is in the middle, now let's see. Okay. Let's see some attack to gain the middle. We have split the scenarios into three main scenarios plus one. I will detail why. We can use ARP poisoning, DNS spoofing, and so on in local network where source and destination of the communication are both local. When the connection starts from local to remote, we can use some other attacks, and when the connection is totally remote, we can use DNS poisoning, traffic tunneling, route mangling. All these attacks are detailed in the slides presented in Amsterdam, so the material is online. Wireless is an exception because with wireless we can perform man-in-the-middle attack even at level 1 of the ISOSI stack layer, because we can force access point reassociation, it is like if I unplug the wire and plug into the attacker. Okay. So let's see. We have no time.
Unpoisoning is what you have done till now. Some countermeasures against this kind of attack are passive monitoring or active monitoring, for example by ARP wash or by an IDS, static ARP entries or secure ARP, that is a protocol developed by him. Not valid countermeasures are port security on the switch or some other kernel patches, just like anti-cap or antidote and so on. For example, antidote kernel patch,
Not a demo? Okay.
works this way. If a request has not been made, the reply is not accepted, and only the first reply is accepted. So when another reply arrives, two different replies, the server will make another ARP request. If there is still a reply from the first code ARP address, MAC address, first code MAC address will be stored and the other MAC address will be banned. We can fake this protection when the ARP entries are not in victim's cache, because we can send a spoofed ICMP packet pretending to be the host we want to cache into the victim. The victim host has to reply to this ICMP echo request, so because we have supposed he doesn't have in the cache the correct MAC address for that IP, has to make an ARP request. Immediately after the ICMP spoofed packet, we send the ARP reply, so we will win the race condition, and our MAC address will be stored in the host cache, and the protection is faked.
Okay, we will skip this demo, and we will show the last demo, the most interesting. No. The newest one.
This attack is useful to sniff in switched environment, even if static ARP or other countermeasures are used. Because this attack is not focused on victims misconfiguration, but is focused on the switch. Exactly on the association between MAC addresses and switch ports. The attacker can send many layer 2 packets with the source address equal to victim host address. So the switch would think that victim host address is bounded to the attacker port. The destination address is equal to attacker's MAC address, so those packets will not be forwarded to any other port or will not generate huge traffic loads. Now the attacker has stolen victim host port. When the attacker receives a packet destined to the victim, he cannot forward the packet as is, because the switch will loop it back. So the attacker has to make a broadcast ARP request asking for victim's IP address. The victim will reply with an ARP reply. When the attacker receives the reply, it is sure that the victim has taken back his port, and the original binding state is restored. So the attacker can forward the packet and restart the stealing process. So it is possible to circumvent, for example, static ARP entries. To perform this attack, we will use this plugin. Only one moment. catch the username and password from the switch, but as you can see, no, switch di là. Di là. MAC address of the destination is unchanged because this is the real gateway MAC address.
Okay.
We only used this kind of attack to fake the switch, convincing it to send us those packets and then to resend it to the real destination. Valid countermeasures against this kind of attack are obviously not static ARP entries, but the only valid countermeasure is port security on the switch, but you have to use a very restrictive port security because you need only 2 MAC addresses to perform this kind of attack. Well, the demo was it.
Any questions?
That's all. Is there any question? If you have any question, you can find us in the swimming pool. Bye.